morning. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and this is Rachel for Real. Today I'm going to be making a video about my first 2 weeks doing the Artist's Way. I mentioned this in my last video that I'm taking this 12-week challenge to see whether I can get to the bottom of why I spend so much money and why I find it so hard to save money, apart from having a very low income, of course. But there's always progress to be made. So I thought this might help, and if along the way I rediscover my creativity as well, then, well, happy days. That's a bonus, isn't it? So the Artist's Way, if you haven't heard of it before, is a spiritual path to higher creativity, and it's written by a lady called Julia Cameron in the 1990s. A lot of people have started doing this challenge and then given up, and in some ways I can see why, because it is quite a lot of work, it's quite a commitment. Each morning you have to write 3 pages of stream of consciousness writing to get all the junk out of your head that's built up overnight. And you just splurge out everything that's in your head. You keep writing, you barely take the pen off the paper. You don't worry about punctuation, spelling, what you're saying. You can slag people off, you can say what you're enjoying, what you hate. Anything that comes to mind, it doesn't matter, nobody's going to see it. And the idea is that when you've got rid of all this junk in your head and all this nonsense that's spilling around, not making any sense, you then have a clearer mind to allow your creativity to come to the surface or to come into you from the universe. And then, you're not dealing with all the everyday rubbish that goes on, and you can just get on with your life. You have a sense of freedom in your mind, and you can carry on being creative and see what comes. She talks a lot about synchronicity, where you start to do something and then other things come into your life that seem to reflect your thinking pattern or have something to do with the topic you're studying. And she said that's quite important, to be open to these moments, because they can stimulate your creativity. Now, I didn't go into it looking for recovering my creativity, because when I first started this, I didn't believe I had any. And it's only through doing the first 2 weeks that I'm starting to think, well, maybe I do. Maybe I just don't think I do, because of the things I've been told growing up and how I identify myself, all those sort of things that we absorb as we go along. And, one by one, perhaps they're not that much, but when they all build up inside you, they do become a belief. They genuinely do. And you live your life according to that belief, whether it's wrong or right. She says that the Artist's Way won't be easy. She acknowledges that you're going to go through periods where you're very dedicated and motivated to do it and the tasks that she gives you each week. And then there'll be times where you just can't be bothered and you either force yourself to do it sort of disgruntled and, oh, well, I suppose I better add because I said I would. And she said that is perfectly normal, and it's just stages that you go through as you make progress and growth. So that's quite reassuring, because I'm pretty sure there'll be days when I sort of think, I cannot be bothered. I do not want to do this. Go away, Julia Cameron, you're annoying me. But if I go into it acknowledging that that's going to come up, then at least I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I'm going to know that it's normal and it's expected and it will pass. So yeah, I'm happy about that. So week 1 was called, if I can find it, Recovering a Sense of Safety. Now, every day you do your morning pages, as I've just described, and once a week you go on an artist's day on your own. Now, this is supposed to be to allow your childlike wonder to come back in, your awe about the world, and paying attention to the world in a way that we don't probably do as adults. I certainly know I don't, because we're rushing. We've always got so much to do that we don't spend time slowing down and observing and taking in what's around us. So the Artist's Day is purely for you. She said it can be frivolous, it can be fun, childlike, and it's supposed to refill your cup. So in daily life, we're getting drained of energy all the time, and the artist state will refill your cup. It will allow you to see things of beauty and wonder and have experiences that are fun that perhaps you don't let yourself do on an everyday basis because you think that they're silly or frivolous or not productive. Everything has to be productive these days, doesn't it? You know, we don't feel like we can do anything just for the fun of it. Well, that's the artist date. Just go and do it for the fun of it. So I'll show some footage later about my first 2 artist dates and what I got up to, so I hope you enjoy those. So in the first chapter, as I said, it's recovering a sense of safety, and the tasks that you do during the week are to look at monsters from the past who have sort of stomped on your creativity. Maybe they've laughed at you, or they've told you you're rubbish, or you'll never get anywhere. Maybe if you wanted to take, art and go to art college, you were told, oh, you're just going to be a starving student in the garret, you'll never make money from it. And basically all of those creative things that bring you joy are sort of stamped out of you, and they're not seen as proper jobs and things like that. Not that you have to be an artist full time to be an artist, but it can really hit home. So one of the things that came up for me in week 1 was an art teacher when I was 14. At that age, from 12 to 14, the first 2 years of high school, you had to take art as one of your subjects. And then when you got to 14 and you were choosing your options for your exams at 16, you selected, I think it was 7 or 8, I can't remember which, subjects to take for O grades, as they were when I did them. I was at school in Scotland at the time, and I did O grades. They're GCSEs now. And this art teacher just came up to me. I was sitting on this, wooden stool, and he came up to me, leant his elbows on the table and said, I wouldn't bother if I was you. Your trees aren't bad, but you're wasting your time. And that just floored me. I felt so ashamed and so small, and I couldn't reply because, in those days you didn't talk back to adults. I think I was really shocked at the time, and I took it to mean you're crap at art, which, I wasn't very good, but it didn't matter, did it? Could I not just do it because it was a nice thing to do? But also that I was sort of less than, I wasn't good enough. So that was one of my biggest monsters, and I wrote a couple more down as well. And then another task was to look back at your childhood and see who had supported you. So what she's trying to get at in this chapter is looking at the things that have squashed your creativity and the effect that's had on you. So you play small, you don't show people what you're doing. She calls this a shadow artist, who's in the shadows, who wants to do it, has a burning desire to just, get some paints out or start writing a story or play a musical instrument, whatever, takes their fancy. But they daren't do it because they're scared of judgment and mockery and those sort of things. So I think by giving you the monsters and then the supporters afterwards, it sort of doesn't leave you feeling quite so depressed at the end of the chapter. So one of my supporters that I really had to think about it, I tell you, there weren't that many, was when I was, 1978? So I was it 1978, 1976? So I was 10? Yeah, 10. I was at Dunblane Primary School. We had a poetry competition, and there was some national competition. I don't know if it was only in Scotland or whether it was UK wide. I don't know. And we had this poetry competition, and I won a prize, and I could get to choose a book, and I chose a novel called The Sound of Chariots. And I've still got it on my bookshelf now. I'll insert a picture here. And it's got a little sticker in to say what the poetry competition was and when I won it. And I think it was when I was 10. I'm not entirely sure. But yes, so that showed me that at some point somebody thought what I'd done creatively was okay, you know, maybe it was still rubbish, but they thought it was better than everybody else's rubbish at the time. So yeah, we you know, there are moments where we do creative things that are okay, you know, it shows that we are okay and we can do them, you know, and as adults, nobody ever needs to see the results, you know, just do it for yourself if you want to. You can show people if you want to, but you don't have to. So that was chapter 1. That was really good way to get into it and to have a think about whether you are creative or not. And if you don't think you are, what or whom has knocked it out of you. So my artist date for week 1 was to go to a shop called Hobbycraft, which has got all sorts of sewing, knitting, painting, crafting things in it, every single craft you can think of just about, and just to have a look at what's available, have a look at the paints and the paintbrushes and canvases, have a look at, you know, colouring pens and glue and all those lovely things. And so that's what I did. I didn't end up buying anything, but I had a lovely time walking around. So week 2 is called Recovering a Sense of Identity, and in this week, she says, this week addresses self-definition as a major component of creative recovery. You may find yourself drawing new boundaries and staking out new territories as your personal needs, desires and interests announce themselves. The essays and tools aimed at moving you into your personal identity, a self-defined you. So this was interesting. Now we're moving on to how do we see ourselves in the world? How do we see ourselves as creative beings? Creativity flourishes when we have a sense of safety and self-acceptance. And I think that's so true, isn't it? You know, if you feel that you're going to be criticised and mocked and judged, then you don't feel safe, you feel very, very vulnerable, and you're unlikely to do that thing because you don't want to feel like that. It's a horrible feeling. But, you know, you've still got this shadow artist inside you. So she talks about crazy makers, and they're the people who sort of dominate your life. They want to be the centre of attention and they draw away from you and what you want. They almost sort of ghost you, even though they're sort of with you. So she suggests that you have to let go of trying to control the result. And most of this chapter is about looking at all the things you could have been in the past, jobs you would have liked to have done, things you like to do that you might be able to reintroduce into your life to, you know, free up yourself and your opinion of yourself and what you think you should do in order to then be more creative and more relaxed, I suppose, because, you know, if you feel safe, you feel relaxed too. The essential element in nurturing our creativity lies in nurturing ourselves. So she talks about, you know, the usual things: look after yourself, eat well, drink lots of water, get outside for a walk every day if that's possible for you. So, you know, take some time to yourself, put yourself first, you know, don't deny yourself these things because you're so busy giving them to everybody else. So some of the tasks were skepticism. So sceptical about your abilities and whether you can do these things. We still doubt that it's okay for us to be creative. I think a lot of people probably feel like that. You know, we think, oh, well, no, I shouldn't be doing that. You know, I should be doing something proper, you know, and productive, and any artistic things frivolous. So, you know, we're wasting our time if we do it, you know, which is quite the opposite of what's true, isn't it? And you feel too much like a fraud to handle success. So it's not only our fear of being mocked, it's also our fear of being accepted and being good at it. We have to go into this with a beginner's mind. You know, if you haven't done creative pursuits for years, or perhaps you've never really done them, you're not gonna be Van Gogh straight away, are you? You know, you have to practice. You have to take the time to learn the skills and get better at them. So you're gonna fail. You know, you're gonna make awful pictures. You're gonna draw badly. You're gonna, you know, strike bum notes on your guitar. But that's okay. Keep your mind open, keep telling yourself it's okay to be a beginner. So the tasks were to, what were we doing in week 2? Let's have a look. Oh yes, we had a list of imaginary lives. So she said, think of imaginary lives of things you would like to do if you weren't doing what you're doing now. So she said, for example, if you've listed a dancer's life, do you let yourself go dancing? And yeah, I mean, can we do any of these things on perhaps a smaller scale? You know, perhaps you can't go and join the ballet now at the age of 45, but you could maybe take a ballet class, or you can dance around your living room and get joy that way. So what she's suggesting is that you introduce these things that you enjoy into your life on a small scale and, you know, try them on for size, see whether it fits your self-image. So what did I write down? I wrote down a scene of crimes officer, a forensic pathologist, a travel blogger, a pianist, and a gymnast. I used to love gymnastics when I was little. Now, all of those are a bit, I don't know, tricky to do in real life at my age. However, I thought travel blogger, okay, I can't swan around the world reviewing hotels and, you know, writing about the best restaurants and things, which is a real shame because I'd love to do that. But I thought what I could do on a small scale and very easily was have a week exploring the town that I live in and write notes on that as if I was a travel blogger. You know, what would I want to highlight about the town I live in that visitors might be interested in and might enjoy doing and seeing? So we can extract little bits from these jobs, activities, that we can bring a little bit of it into our daily life. So yeah, that was quite fun. And then she said in a bit later on, add some more to that and see whether you can do another one this week. She talks about fantasizing about being creative rather than doing it. Now, I'm a master of procrastination. I mean, gold medal winner. So yeah, that hit home for me. You know, you can talk about it till the cows come home, but unless you kind of get the stuff out and sit down and do it, you know, you aren't being creative. You're thinking about creativity, you're not being creative. And then she said list. So yes, that's something I need to be paying attention to. 10 tiny changes you'd like to make for yourself and focus on 1 or 2 of these for the week. So one of my things that I said was I would like to go and sit at the park at least once a week. That's quite achievable, isn't it? I've just got to say, right, I'm going to the park. I've got time to do it now. Off I go and do it. But so why do I put it off, you know? I guess it's because I don't think I should be doing something like that doesn't seem to be productive and, you know, have any particular purpose. But the purpose is that I want to do it and it'd be a nice thing to do. So yeah, that's just a little highlight of what weeks 1 and 2 were like. It does throw up a lot of things to think about. The morning pages have been quite interesting because I've been writing the 3 pages and the first 2 pages are basically, oh, the sun's shining, it's raining, I'm cold, my back hurts, don't know what to write, what can I write, do you know what to write, I don't know what to write. But then what seems to happen is by the time I get to the 3rd page, I get to the sort of nitty-gritty little gems of what's bugging me or what I could improve, you know, to get out of my bad habits and things like that. So do keep writing. If you do this, or you just take the morning pages and you leave the rest of it, do keep writing those 3 pages, because as you get all the crap out of your head, the good stuff can surface. It's got room to surface, and that's when you get the insights. So I'm hoping that's where I'm going to get the insights for my spending and addiction to spending and not saving. So thank you for watching. It's been lovely to see you. I'll see you next week. Bye for now.